You can hear this, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watching VOD with face cam was weird.
Yeah, I'd say it is. I'm
Yeah.
surprised you kept the face cam on for the open try. I usually would turn that off.
It didn't affect me.
Yeah.
and,
You just kind of forget it's there because there's no chat interaction either.
Yeah. There is definitely times where something goes wrong and you see me, like, my whole face just goes.
Yeah. Okay. So we just want to do specifically dive in the beginning, right? Also, okay.
Yeah.
What we're about to watch Liam get roasted? Says we also turn Liam up. How do I turn you up though in a call?
Just right click my name. Should be able to drag the bar. Or if you just turn up your on stream thing.
Yeah, I did that as well. Say something.
Testing 1 2 3.
I think that should be way louder for them now.
Hey, is that loud enough now?
Better. All right, cool. We can hide chat as well. Hide your chat, and then. Oh, all right. So we just want to do specifically dive stuff first, right? So that's the beginning of route, and then
2 maps on Busan, I think.
oh yeah, here.
Yeah,
So
the dive on route was very scuffed though. We played double
yeah,
sniper Winston ball, which is just like doing 2 different things there.
yeah, it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
And then what about this one? How did this one go? Because I watched a little bit of this, and you were actually doing pretty good, and then
Yeah.
for a
I
while,
don't know.
yeah,
The downtown I think went awful, but this one it was just sort of like
yeah,
I felt like I played to the best I thought or like I was saying like I did what I would do now if I could do it again, but
right.
it just wasn't working. So it's like I'm at a loss of like
All right.
what I should have done, or if I need to coordinate with the team better, or what.
Hold on, let me fix my shit because I'm actually gonna write stuff down if I have to. If I like get a thought, I don't want to forget it. Okay. You know what I really should do is I should start writing notes on stream. Like it's just I can't. I don't know why I can't do it. It's just like
Just get a
I should have
notepad
like
cam.
I just put a notepad up or whatever. A notepad cam.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
genius.
notepad cam.
Yeah, I'm like halfway through that notebook that you bought me at
Jesus
BlizzCon.
Christ, it's been less
Yeah,
than a month.
I know. And most of it was in like the last week or whatever because I'm just taking notes on like a load of different teams and shit.
You're scouting teams for playoffs, yeah.
Yeah, and then you don't know who you're gonna come up against, so you just got to do them all, you know, or most
Yeah.
anyway. But
I can give you a scouting
I have
or at least one team.
yeah, I have that team's name, and I just literally all I have written is they like to play spam, and that's it. I didn't bother take any
Okay,
other notes. Where
like
am
to
I
play
going?
spam wrong.
Spam
But
wrong.
yeah,
Yeah.
won't say it anymore.
Nice. Do you start on defense or on attack? Is this attack? This is attack. All right.
Winston.
And you're on ball, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I ended up on ball, so it's hard to
Oh, that's
swap.
so confusing. I don't know what you just said. Sorry.
Yeah, we play Winston ball double sniper, and then like I made a point of just like, yeah, we're not to hold space with these 2 tanks, but I was on ball, so I couldn't really just swap diva.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I don't know if your man was comfortable on ball or he just sort of pushed for me to be on it.
He played ball in the second round, didn't he?
Maybe.
Yeah, on defense, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's gonna be weird, like, cause I'll basically be like, you're basically an off tank for this like first half of this map or whatever, from what I remember.
Yeah.
Cause like,
The
okay,
second
yeah,
part.
there's like so much that you need to think about when you're running dive as well. Like, I don't know, I've never actually like coached a team during dive meta, so I don't know the exact, like, I don't know like the names that all the or like the wording that people have, but there's like so many different types of dive, you know what I mean? So there's like hard dive, or that's just what I call it, like full dive, hard dive, whatever, like hyper dive or something, you know, when you have like Tracer Genji and you just like you hard dive with that. And that's probably when you want to run a wrecking ball if you want even that style. Even still, I think if you're running like a full dive comp, whether it's double sniper or like Tracer Genji or whatever, and if the enemy team is also running a dive comp, you're gonna want a diva, um, just because yeah, the ball dives, but like that's not really what tanks are for. Like people in ranked, like they treat tanks like they're DPS, right? You just like stay alive forever in the enemy team's backline and just like kill the enemy team. But like what a tank actually is supposed to do, well, not all the time, but like for especially in like double sniper dive or whatever, is like get picks, but snipers get picks way easier than tanks. So it's more about like setting up your DPS to get picks than actually getting picks yourself. You know what I mean? And then
Yep.
the best tanks are the tanks that are able to go through the steps of like setting up their DPS, shutting down the enemy DPS, and getting picks at the same time. So if you look at like I don't know the way the London Spitfire used to run dive back in season one, or uh, players like Fisher or someone, I don't know, like the best Winstons back in the day were kind of crazy at that, but they were good because like they could stay like they would never get dislodged from their positions in the enemy team backline, you know what I mean? And they would always be able to like deny like you want to like suffocate the enemy team so that there's no like cushion between their tanks and their DPS. And you want to create
Yep.
a cushion between your DPS and their tanks so that if their tanks want to, or if their DPS or whatever, like their dive heroes want to get onto your snipers or your supports, they have to commit cooldowns to do it. And then it's really easy then for your supports just to peel for your DPS and kill whatever it is that dove in. But if you skip through all of that and you just go straight to I'm gonna kill this widow, and you've never like maybe you get the kill, but maybe you've just done the opposite of what I said, which is like commit a cooldown onto a DPS or a support in the middle of their team, so it's an easy sleep or whatever, and you can't get out because you just burned your cooldowns. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Yeah. So I like the reason I'm bringing it up is like I noticed it before, so it's just kind of like the theme. And then like hard dive is different, right? And I still think diva is better when you're like hard diving because then you've got to talk to your DPS a little bit more, and it's also about like controlling high grounds and shit. That's why like people say like Genji is bad or whatever, but like if they took Arista Sigma out of the game, right? So you just can't run those heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't like Genji's still pretty bad to be fair. Like Sombra is just better. Tracer isn't bad. Doomfist is still pretty good. But you want like heroes who are able to like help you yeah, I don't want to go through too much at the same time. We'll get to it.
Sniper dive.
We'll just watch
Like
like the sniper
if it's
dive
Yeah.
working.
first and then we can talk about like the full
I
dive
think we
after, I
start
guess.
on the
Like yeah, it feels like I wasn't playing with the team for the first like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah,
Honestly,
they had you on
for,
ball and they played double sniper dive. It doesn't
yeah.
you should have if you had known that like and I think you guys like talk about it a little bit, what you should have done was like enforce that Winston Diva is better because it is just better if I mean if the ball can technically still do the same job and it depends on the style that the enemy team is playing. Like if they're also playing double sniper dive, then they won't be hard diving that much. So you don't really need a diva to peel as long as your supports and your DPS are playing well together, you know what I mean? But you still have to go
Yeah.
through like the same, so it's not that bad. But you still have to go through like the same steps and it's difficult, like the map geometry is already in their favor. Like I'll get to it in a sec.
What am I
Yeah.
doing? Am I just feeling?
So
They
You
have
can
Hammond.
push start.
Yeah. So like I went out playing this with the mentality of like, okay, we're playing. I like we ended up swapping to double sniper, but I went with the mentality of, alright, I'm just gonna clear out the right side of the map and then try force them into the left corner. And if that involves 1v1ing one of their supports or snipers to just sort of force them back in there, or just to distract them while my DPS got set up. So I just basically went, yeah, I'm just gonna hard engage in, cause the diversion while my DPS get up, rather than like
right.
Winston would sort of stand in
So
front of
you
them.
you kind
And
of
I
want
sort of
to you kind of want to give your DPS the corner, right? Is that what you mean?
yeah
So
yeah. So trying to force them into the same angle so both snipers on their end had to shoot from the same corner.
yeah, and like yeah, that kind of makes sense. But you have to remember as well, like that. Okay, that does make sense. Actually, it makes sense in my head definitely. But you have to remember their tanks are going to try to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And then like they're gonna have what do they have? I know they have Anna. They might have like Anna Mercy or something. So like that sleep dart's gonna be a threat as well. So like that's a good plan. You probably just skip a couple of steps
Push
to
start
do
with
it. You know what I
animation
mean?
for a while.
I'm probably gonna switch off fire
So
quickly because they're probably gonna have a sniper of some kind.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see one.
hold on.
Yeah,
So
they
we
are.
just
okay.
scout
Yeah,
here, right?
I
Wait,
went
do
up
you
on
wanna
the
go?
ball here because our original plan was to basically just run Orisa spam comp without Orisa. So basically,
Ooh.
just since they don't have Orisa Sigma, they are really fucked if we have a Pharah just spamming them or a Hanzo spamming them or a Hog hooking them. So it's alright, I'll just move payload, you all set up around them and spam them. But then midway through this we called swap to dive.
Right.
So
Okay.
but
Wait,
yeah,
no,
then we can go double
Oh
sniper
yeah,
dive.
yeah.
Double sniper
Yeah,
dive.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You wanna go to sniper dive then?
Yeah.
You wanna go Winston Echo yeah, or see this is where I say
Do you want to go
like
Winston? Yeah.
I can play Winston.
And then he just like
Just tell me
yeah.
what it is when you see it.
so we both just didn't really think of it.
Yeah. So what are they on? They're also on ball. Like, I mean, Diva got a lot of nerfs, so it kind of makes sense. But
Yeah.
if you're
That's
both
the
running these comps, like, it just makes way more sense to run Diva. I feel like. I mean, ball isn't that bad either. If it was like Genji Tracer or Sombra Tracer or something, I think Diva would be even more necessary. So ball isn't that bad. It's just like it's kind of yeah. I think you would probably be better off on Winston. You probably should have said it to him as well,
Yep.
yeah.
because I don't think he
So I'm
knows
gonna
what
just rotate around.
exactly he needs to
Which
be
is waiting
doing.
in top tunnel,
Yeah,
I hear him.
they're all top left right now. Widow's bottom.
Okay, so here's off the bat, right? First thing that we say is like, okay, this is what we were talking about just a minute ago. You were like, you want to cut the map like down the middle, let's say like here or whatever, and you take over like this half. Is that what you're saying? Maybe I can get like an
Yeah,
epic pen or
so
something. I don't
basically I
think.
want to push the Widow to play on the left scaffolding, if I can.
Yeah, play up here.
Yeah.
Basically force them off of the side of the map that you're on now, so that
Yeah.
your snipers can come around and start taking over like this area of the map, and then
She
you can
has
like push the
shorter
payload.
sightline.
Yeah, like that makes sense. But then what are the enemy tanks and the enemy DPS going to try to do as well, right? So they already have the advantage of like cover. They get to choose where they want to fight. They get to choose all their positioning and shit. And their tanks are like up here. You know what I mean? I'm surprised that they're not like as close as like this corner or whatever. But the idea is like the enemy tanks and you, if you're on defense, they're gonna play in a way that they can one, if they're engaging, they can just drop in onto your team without having to burn cooldowns. So if we don't control the high grounds, that's going to be an issue. Um, but they're also like trying to suffocate your team. They can't really do that to you because you're a ball, but the rest of it, you're on wrecking ball. Like you can just basically go wherever you want. But the rest of your team like is gonna have really little space if we don't figure out a way of like dislodging them from the high ground that's behind you and then from like up here. Assuming like as your team starts to come around the corner, the tanks are gonna drop from the high ground or they're just gonna like camp up there and pressure your team, like stop them from actually taking the space for free at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's good that you have like the right concept or whatever, but you wanna there's a couple of jobs you have to do. One, you have to like get their tanks out of position, then you gotta get yourself into position, and then you have to actually like you don't even really need to commit to a dive, especially because you're on ball. Like ball Winston, maybe you guys can like two-man dive something, but that's not really the objective unless it's like completely throwing. Even if you do two-man dive something, the odds that you kill it is really low. Like they're on Mercy. Like the only things that you can really dive here are Anna and Widow has a grapple hook, and then she can just get double pocket from Anna and Mercy. And then if you dive Mercy as just two tanks, she's gonna nade herself. You can't eat the nade. You can't eat the sleep dart, so one of you is getting slept unless you both somehow use the Winston bubble to outplay. Uh, and then the Mercy pocket is going to go on her with the anti-nade to top her off as well. You know what I mean? And she's probably going to be around a health pack. And all the while that's happening, like you've burned cooldowns to get on top of her, and then you're just going to get farmed by Widow and Pharah or Widow and Hanzo or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, which is why sniper like Widow is can be pretty busted if she has grapple hook as well. Like you dive her, she just grapples away, and then you're just out in the open or whatever. So like really in double sniper dive, the objective of the tanks is to like create. I don't know how to like visualize that or whatever, but you want to like create that cushion between your DPS and their tanks, so that one your DPS have like a lot of room to move. Like obviously the more map control you can give them the better. But that's kind of what I mean by that cushion is like you give them space, like you give them the map control, and the way you do that is you push back their tanks. And so like if their tanks are on top of their DPS, we're doing well. So like that means their DPS have no space because it means like there's very little room for them to move around the map. Uh, and then so that's kind of both of the objectives in like one, like all wrapped up nicely, right? So you force the tanks back and then you keep the DPS from moving around the map. So then like how do you win a sniper 1v1? It's like one, you have more cover, You have healing, you have like resources from your team, and then you can like move around the map freely, and the enemy team doesn't know where you are. And if you can do all that, then it's just like free. It's just like a free win. Also, you can just like push the payload, and they have to come to the payload eventually. If you've controlled all the space, that's really easy to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm right. I'm just gonna pressure.
I'm not really reading chat right now, but I'll come back to it every now and then. But it kind of like really screws in my concentration, so I don't like want to say anything twice or anything like that. But thank you, Cardinal or Jason, for the host, and hey Jelly, how are you? Anyway, sorry. Let's go.
Sure, 4-2.
Okay.
They have a Pharah.
So like, okay, again, like the tanks, you probably should have like you're basically invincible. By the way, like all they have is Widow. You know what I mean?
Give it in a second.
You can basically go wherever you want. Wait, what?
Just if you play for another 5 seconds, like I'm in the god spot right now of I just forced the Widow to fuck up her grapple, and now you're saying I'm invincible.
Oh,
Just give it a couple of
what I
seconds.
mean
and
is,
see
what I mean is, you're invincible if you don't screw up your positioning. You know what I mean? You can basically
Yeah.
go wherever you want as long as you know, like, as long as you know your limits. And I think what happens is you go over your limit here, right? So you do
Yeah,
good. You force the grapple, and then the Widow like fucks up her grapple. But this Anna is just it's just GG for you. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
like engage, so you didn't slam. At least you didn't slam, which is good. But like you used your grapple to get in, which means you don't have it to get out. And then like this sleep dart is just like you
Anna's
just die.
healing for Widow.
I'm diving that monkey real quick.
I might die here. Fuck.
And so like even what your monkey is doing, which is like trying to pressure out their monkey, if you had helped with this first before going for the Widow, and just like as long as your snipers understand this is what's happening, they don't have that much space yet, then that would
Yeah.
have been like much better. It would have been working towards the same goal that your Winston is, and you wouldn't have just instantly died here either. But like you have to know like why it is that you died. It's like you committed, like we just said, you kind of skipped past like the no man's land. You went straight into their backline, straight for the Widow. She had grapple. Anna was there with sleep with nade, and you didn't really like make any space for your DPS either. So you just were like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm pushing payload.
The original plan was literally just, oh, she'll just grapple away and force her, like, she'll back up. But then she fucked it up, and I was just sort of like, wait, I can kill her.
I
And
mean,
that's sort of what fucked me.
yeah, you basically suicided. Uh, but you
But I
still
created
did your
space for
job.
my Widow.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like, I
Not
mean,
feeding to
that
create
is
space.
technically what happened. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the Forest should have been smart and known that the only place that she can get peeked from by the Widow is like this angle, right? So she should have hugged the wall to her right, looking down at the main choke, and then just have her tanks like shut down the choke points. But this trial was messy. Like none of you guys know each other, so running dive when nobody knows each other, like dive is
Bonus 2
terrible
years.
enough as it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then nobody's played it in years, and then like it's so hard to run, even with a really high, well coordinated team. That like this was always bound to be messy. So that's fine. Like mistakes are being made all over the place already, but like it's grand as long as you just like know the concepts or
Nice,
whatever.
I'm gonna walk
My
up
bad.
a little bit.
And so basically, you just want to like mostly in dive, you want to talk to your DPS. Like that's kind of the most important thing, especially if you're like the main tank, the Winston or the Diva would kind of want to talk a little bit with you, and then the supports. But because you're on ball, you're still technically the main tank. It's just weird. I don't know. It's just like it's fine.
Then I rise.
Only versus the main.
Someone, yeah. Getting there, high
Are they
ground.
staying in gas
Ball,
right now?
ball, by the way.
I don't know where Widow is.
They're
but
all
she hit
playing
me.
back at gas right now.
Think
And
there's
like even though you died, you still kind of
People.
achieved what you
I'm
were
gonna
trying to
back up
do,
a little
which
bit.
is give space for your snipers.
They're left and on, far away.
All right,
Tell NA Scrim that I'm starting to call it gas.
call it gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do they call? What do we call it in the EU?
I don't know. It normally ends up being just gas because.
Just gas. Yeah. It says gas on the thing.
Yeah,
so.
I know, but it also says big Earls.
Hmm. That's two syllables though. Gas is just one syllable.
Earls.
I hate the way EU people call it fortify instead of gold
Yeah,
for like the
since
Ursa
I've
gold.
been trialing and calling gold now.
Yeah, gold is so much better. Anyway, because it's just one. It's so easy to say no gold, you know, instead of no.
Like something funny I've noticed like trialing with tier 2 teams. No one ever says funds. So Reaper becomes re. It's just re.
Yeah. Everything down to one syllable.
It's
Yeah. So like I had to, I forget who I had to yell at before, but I had to yell at somebody for
Mute for calling it immortality.
yeah, I had to yell at
That's
mutes.
exactly what-
I was like, mutes, if you call it immortality one more time, I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking
Yeah.
strangle you. Just call it lamp, Jesus. Yeah,
And then I was next after that because I couldn't call it lamp either.
yeah, fucking
Got there
hell.
eventually.
Immortality, break, like that literally takes longer than it takes to actually break the fucking thing by yourself. Saying the word immortality. But, yeah. Anyway, that's funny. All right. Okay, so it's kind of like the map geometry has like changed now, right? So like the space has changed. So the tanks are now like playing for this thing. So like you've already kind of done step one, which is like given like this. You've basically like taken over, like you said, this piece of the map or whatever, which means they can't set up here anymore. So like they did the smart thing and they repositioned to like low ground behind the sign. The widow can maybe like peek out here or whatever, but you still have to like go through the same steps. So you've got to like figure out a way of taking over this area of the high ground, or if you can even just keep their tanks back, keep pushing the payload as it's happening. So keep their tanks on their side of Big Earls, and then if they come over the top, like if they try to come over to pressure out your DPS, then it's just a free kill. You know what I mean? And then in the meantime, like we can start taking over like this ramp, we can take over the bridge, we can push the payload around the corner. Like if we can keep them like within like just this like small area behind where my like mouse is, behind like the mega room or whatever, and we can take left of them and right of them and push the payload at the same time, they'll have no space and they will have no idea where our DPS are going to peek from, where they're coming or whatever. It should just be free picks. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's see how it goes.
That's here.
Yeah, she's
Pressure
at the
Winston,
sign.
man.
We're gonna dive up, alright?
So like this Winston is. Oh, I didn't mean to turn that down.
Widow play
That Winston is like I don't know what he was doing there. Like it's just kind of
playing
weird.
for Nano. That's the only thing I can
Maybe, yeah.
possibly.
Like maybe, but it just doesn't make any sense because like he's not shutting down anything. He's just like a free target. He should have been headshot by one of his teams, by one of your snipers. I'm not sure like what this Winston, what your Winston is
Playing
doing
back
either.
left by sign.
Like he's actually he is, to be fair, he's playing like line of sight to his supports really well, and he's playing around cover pretty well.
We don't know grapple.
Okay, so again, you've just grappled and slammed in. You should get slept here and killed. I don't know if you do.
Our Winston's on their Anna.
Okay, that's fine. So this actually isn't that bad, and you're like slamming them up for your snipers as well. So this engage is better than the last one because like you've controlled the space better. You've like forced their snipers and their supports and their tanks all on top of each other, and then you're just gonna slam them all. But anyway, like as long as you don't get slapped or insta killed, you'll be fine, and then you can just like activate your shields and then
Oh, there we go.
Hey, Monkey's gonna dive her backline, I
What
think.
did I do?
I'm just shooting.
and it actually gets you, it nets you a kill as well. So that was a much better engage.
Nice.
And like it was pretty much, you engaged pretty much the exact same way. It was just better because the setup was better from you and your team. And I don't even know if you've realized that or not, but if you can start to realize like when it is good to slam and when it's not good to slam, like it's double sniper meta. It's such a obscure meta. It's so weird, but it's yeah.
Fire's on me right side.
Monkey up top.
Fire half.
Ball on me right side.
Monkey low, top.
They res, which is unfortunate. We probably could have. You probably could have like hunted down that res and denied it from happening just by being present. You know. Yeah, the cooldowns would have.
To be fair, that's probably why I looped around to
Yeah.
just check it. But by the time I got there,
Yeah.
I swear my tracking is better on NA than EU.
Really? That doesn't make any sense at all.
And if you just look at it, it just seems better. Like
All right.
I don't know if that means I aim too far. Like I predict while using hit scan or something. Probably all the Rissa that's gotten into me.
I'm playing point.
I have walls for you.
I'm going on the widow. I'm just pressuring her.
Fire low.
Yeah, fire's getting. She's low there. Yeah, fire left.
Fire low. Wall up here.
With the
Okay,
Heals on
you
point. Monkey
somehow
on me on point, I need heals.
you somehow killed that widow. I don't know how their supports
I'm going on the widow.
let you get
Pressuring.
away with that.
Fire low.
Yeah, fire's getting. She's low there.
Yeah, no, a lot of this stuff,
Fire
it's
low.
just like I'm not expecting to. Like the first fight where it's like she fucked up her grapple, like I'm just gonna pressure her off the spot, and then something happens where it's like, oh fuck, I can actually kill her.
Yeah. And then you get
This time
slept
it works
because of it. yeah.
But this time it works out. It was just like, she's not getting peel.
Yeah. In the meantime, though, like while that's happening, your Winston like lost the 1v1 to that Anna, which is, I don't know, I'm not able to see like what actually happened up there, but he was like up there the whole time, and maybe he just like left LOS or his shield broke or something, and he got domed. I'm not sure, but he like dies, and as soon as he's dead, like look at their ball and then their Winston pretty soon, and even their Pharah are just gonna like hard pressure your DPS. So even though you get this kill, I'm
All
not
of you.
sure how much
With
it's gonna
traffic, he
matter.
heals on point. Monkey on me on point. I need heals. I need heals.
Here, don't I?
Killing her?
Hmm?
I'm dead.
Do you?
How does it not
I'm dead.
boofer?
I don't know. I saw that
They
as
use
well. That
nano.
was weird.
They
And
have.
then
So they just nanoed their Winston onto your team, and you guys just got
Yeah.
kind of cleaned up.
see, like that's where I'm there, like of that's like the best the ball could do in this comp. Like, because if I'm peeling, then I should just be on Diva. Like, I'm playing the ball role here,
Yeah,
even though but it's just the wrong character. Like,
yeah, definitely.
because
And like,
I get the pick and then I distracted one of the supports. I feel like that's it just should be me in like
you should be
it
in
should,
their Winston's
I
position.
I should be in this spot as Winston right now, and our Diva should have been
Yeah, and
in
even
the
like
backline.
as Winston, like you never would have been as deep as you were as Ball.
Yeah.
It's just because you're Wrecking Ball that you're able to do that. But like you would still be roughly in this area, like shutting down their team or their Ana from making that kind of like aggressive peak play. You know what I mean? You always
Yeah.
want to like keep pushing her back, and the more you can push them back and control the space, like the more difficult it is for like what happened to their Winston. He gets nano and he just commits a jump onto your snipers and somehow gets 2 kills. He kills the Mercy and the Ana. But like if we're controlling space better, the Mercy should never have died. First of all, she should have been able to fly away, and the Ana should have had such good positioning that if the Winston's gonna jump in, it's just like an easy sleep dart to hit. You know what I mean? Because he has to
Yeah.
go so far to get to either your snipers or your Ana, and the Mercy should be able to fly away. And even if he goes on Widow or whatever, that should just be like an easy grapple. And Hanzo is Hanzo, so he should never die to the Winston either, assuming like our positioning is good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, Andy?
I don't know for Winston. Might die here.
They may have Mercy ult. I don't know about the barrage. Probably don't have it in yet.
Hey, Lame, if you wanna play ball, you gotta let me know how you wanna play this. Like, you
I'm
wanna
just
slam us
pressuring their
back
Widow
in.
right now, so like
I'll go,
so-
bro. I'll just lead them.
just sort of solo diving or
And like just as like a general concept or whatever, you want to try to get them control the map or whatever. Yes, get them back is good, but like in general, high grounds are like just as important as that. Like they're pretty important as well. You know what I mean? So like high grounds
Yeah.
first, and then you want to like push them back because high grounds this cover and everything like that.
yeah, I don't know where she
Yeah.
is. She's
But
walking back to point now.
I'm gonna walk out
I'm
main.
so like even if you just like keep the Widow from like keep scouting the Widow, keep pressuring her so that she has to either grapple away or call for supports. If the supports are healing their Widow, they're not healing their tanks, you know what I mean? So their tanks are going to be
Yeah.
able to do a lot less. As long as you don't die, you don't even need to kill them. As long as you're able to control the map by yourself and keep their attention on you. Like keeping the Widow's attention on you especially is huge because then your snipers can move around the map like way more freely. So if you always call like where the Widow is and then when her attention is on you, that's like really good as well.
I'm
And
dead.
if you
I'm
like
taking a red
Future.
zone.
if you're ever like going for a section of the map, like the high ground or main or like left flank or right flank or whatever you want to call it, just like call that out to your team as well, and like call for your Winston to like help you get that, you know.
I'm gonna take space for you guys.
But
If
anyway.
I'm pressuring Widow right now.
So like here for example, right? So you want to be like pressuring Widow on the high ground is like especially important. So like Widow high ground, pressuring her, she's fighting me,
Okay.
and that would like give your Hanzo maybe or maybe even your Widow like an opportunity to like go for a grapple shot or just like jump up here and help you with that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
still, like this Winston is, we need to get this Winston out. Like your Winston needs to get this Winston out, but you should also be helping to do that. So like so far this whole time you've just kind of like skipped the step of clearing out the enemy tanks and have just gone straight for the DPS, which again it makes sense because you're on ball. So, but ball can still help with that. You know what I mean? You're basically like you can't die unless you get like slept or something.
Keep main, just keep main.
Mercy peeling for her. Pull down their Ana.
Oh, no. You have
Monkey backline.
I'm on the monkey.
And this engage is good as well, right? So like you control the high ground, you force them off the high ground, except for the Winston. But let's just say that you did, and then you go for like a you go for like mines, you go for a mines play. But because you've controlled the high ground so well, you're going for it like you're basically dropping in, you know what I mean? So like you still have your grapple, so you engage in with a cooldown and you have another one to get out. Whereas like if you just the previous times you just grappled in and slammed and it's just like an easy it was an easy sleep dart or whatever, or you're just an easy target then because you can't get out as quickly as you can in this situation, or at least like
Yeah.
if you choose to stay in even more, like hunt down the Widow after she grapples, or go for the Ana after she uses all of her cooldowns. You have your grapple for that as well. But the other thing as well is you probably just want to like slow it down maybe just a little bit, because like
Guys, and DP.
Ammo.
Where's Widow? Where's Widow?
We don't gas, we don't gas.
wait,
Pick me, just
this
pick
is
me.
Mercy
10
peeling for her.
second skips instead of 5. I don't know why. Anyway, so like you force the Widow off the high ground, right? That's really good. If you would just like, if you didn't even like force her all the way off either, which is the thing. Like if you like keep the pressure on her or on the Winston to like force them off, that's like really good. And then you want to like give your team time to actually take the space that you've made for them, and then as they're taking or after they've taken that space, then you go for this kind of a play.
Yeah, so it's again, I'm just sort of skipping a step.
Yeah, kinda. Anyway,
Pile driving there, Ana.
I'm nano. You have
it was still a good pile driver play,
Yeah, I'm on my TP, yes, fine, we're
and we nanoed our
We
Winston
don't
onto
gas,
them.
we don't gas.
So like this is the thing. It's like both of you are playing for kills instead of just like. I mean, you kind of did control the map as well, which is good. And now you both have ults, so it's good to go for kills with that as well. But like your snipers should be getting like this Pharah shouldn't be alive. And it just the only thing that in my head, the only reason that they're not getting any kills is because their tanks are probably on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just
Ana still have.
Monkey me permaling.
it's like both teams are
Both
playing the same way. It's just like what the fuck?
just
How did you kill that
Killed the
Pharah?
Pharah with 9.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like both teams are playing the same way, where like both sets of tanks are like going really aggro, and then neither set of tanks is peeling for those tanks or punishing that kind of playstyle. So it just comes
Yeah.
down to like which set of tanks can kill the enemy DPS or backline faster. You know,
Push up here right there.
Ana's dead. I'm in. I can
that's
heal.
actually exactly what's happening. Like it's kind of funny.
Ana, Mercy bottom left. Ana top left.
Yo, can you dive top?
Mercy up
Widow
right.
top.
So
Mercy up top.
Ana's
I'm pretty sure the only kills, not the only kills, but most of the kills that have gone on in this, actually all the kills in this fight have just been from tanks. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
is kind of crazy. Like it's a double sniper, so that it shouldn't be like
I'm
that.
going on Ana
I'm
top
on Mercy,
left.
I'm on Mercy, I'm on Mercy.
Oh, that's
Mercy
oh,
peeling.
wow.
Mercy out. Mercy, Mercy,
Ana,
Mercy.
Widow on high ground, half.
what's up? I need heal.
I'm on Widow, I'm
Widow
on
half
Widow.
up top.
Widow one. Oh, yikes.
Yeah, so like that, your Ana just got dove, your Widow got dove.
Okay, push payload. No, I cannot. Never mind.
Hanzo like controls the high ground, but the Winston just like instantly goes for him, and now you're like down a bunch of people as
Can you
well.
pick me?
So it's like even though you
He's
got
one,
your
he's one.
kills or whatever, like their
good.
tanks did the same, and
We
because
just
they're
have,
on
like, no
defense, it
kills
just
for,
suits them
yeah.
more.
battle snipers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's where.
Totally wrong style for a DPS.
Yeah.
I'm
Getting
going
a
Kree. I'm
hog.
going Kree.
Yeah. Freaking wait.
Let's walk left side
You
lower
can
in
see
the
I had
gate.
a slight problem. Like I'm questioning the Kree pick there just by the face cover. I'm just like,
Really? Yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
if you look, you can just see my head tilt back like, okay.
So I don't know if it's where.
Let's
I'm
see.
going
Getting
Kree.
a
I'm going Kree.
Yeah. Freaking wait.
Let's walk.
Like, oh, okay. But you know why he's doing it, right? Is because in his
'cause he
mind,
doesn't
the
have
tanks
space,
are just sitting on top of him, and he's like, I need
Yeah,
something.
they-
Yeah. He should have just gone Reaper, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
Left side lower
Reaper
in the gate.
Tracer.
Yeah.
Mocking.
Widow's on top of gas right now. I'm gonna
Okay,
soft diver to
Go
pressure
man.
down.
Where are
Monkey's
there?
ball top
Okay, did you fuck
left,
that
I'm
up?
gonna
yeah, slightly. Alright.
Mocking.
Widow's on top
Like,
of gas
you don't
right
even
now.
really need to like. Yeah, if you want to like get into a position or whatever, and you know what position that you want to get, like grappling to slam in wouldn't be as good as like if you grappled somewhere earlier, like a couple of seconds ago. So like let's say you grappled main and just get underneath them, and then you're already in a position where you can just like go up the staircase and slam off the staircase or something,
Yeah.
and that way you still have your grapple, or it's on like a way shorter cooldown. You know.
Yeah.
That's probably like a better way of thinking about it. But so like all the time, like you're so fast and you're so mobile and you're so hard to kill, and you can grab so many fucking health packs, and like you can just like play LOS of your Ana if you need to at some point as well. But like you can just fly around the map, so you can always be in position before your team. You know what I mean? You don't have to wait main behind this cover and then like use all your cooldowns just to get into the position that you want to force the Widow out from. Because then you have to wait for more cooldowns to actually follow up on that damage and hunt her down if that's what you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But so like you gotta.
soft diver to
Go
pressure.
man.
Monkey ball top
Yeah,
left.
you
I'm
kinda
gonna slam
fucked
when
that
you
up a
guys
little
walk out. Well, careful on the walkout.
And like you guys are split as well, so we're not even like focusing the same thing. Like you're pressuring the Widow, and she's not even leaving the high ground because the Winston isn't up there with you, or you're just not like hitting enough shots or whatever, you know.
On
Winston
monkey.
dropping, Winston.
Wait up.
Maybe heals.
Pressure
I'm
down.
sending a dragon towards Anna.
I'm on Widow top right.
I'm purple.
Anna,
Just come
Widow
here.
one top right.
Paul Megan
Together
cave,
now.
Paul Megan low.
I need heals on Monkey. Heals on Monkey.
Healing it.
Anna one.
Solo, mine.
And so like it was like super scuffed way of doing it, but like we eventually got them all off the high ground and then forced them back, and then you just mines them when they actually went back, which is good. But I don't know, like this,
Alright.
like the preset or the pre-fight is clearly where like
Widow's on
people
top of
have no
gas right now.
idea what they're doing, you know, because like
I'm gonna soft diver to
Go ahead,
pressure
man.
down.
like your Winston dives one thing, you even call, like you're the one calling, like you're saying Widow's on gas or whatever, and he's just like, yeah, okay, good luck with that, I'm just gonna go over here, and he just
Yeah.
Monkey
dives.
ball top left. They're gonna.
Yeah, so he says monkey ball top left, so he's in the mindset of I need to get these tanks out. You're in the mindset of I need to get these DPS out. And then your McCree is like, oh, fuck double sniper, I just want to kill their tanks as well. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's so
Slam
weird.
when you guys walk out. Well, careful on the walkout.
On
Winston
monkey.
dropping, Winston.
Wait up.
Maybe heals.
Pressure
I'm
down.
sending a dragon towards Anna.
Yeah, you probably
Widow
should
top
have
right.
gone for the slam on the Widow there again, instead of going straight for the Ana. But
Yeah.
she doesn't actually kill anything. I think your Winston goes away from here back to the Ana, and then somehow your supports and your McCree stay alive because they nanoed the Winston, but your McCree flashed him. So it's so messy, but it's like we just get more kills than they do.
I'm
I think.
purple.
Anna,
Just come
Widow
here.
one top right.
Like what? Okay, so like your McCree fell all the way back. The Widow is still on the high ground fighting the Winston. So like if you ever need as dive tanks, you don't do enough damage between yourselves to get a kill or anything. So you have to work either with a DPS or with your other tank if you want to achieve basically anything. Unless you somehow catch a Widow out like completely alone, then you can insta kill her. Or if like an Ana has no cooldowns or whatever, without your ult, that is. Like once you have your ult, like you can, if you just like have really good primal mechanics, you can just like kill their whole team. But that's something else, you know what I mean? Same with like mines, you can just like kill their whole team. So when you decide to mines, it's fine that you go straight for their Ana or their backline because that's just like you're just going for kills at that point. You know what I mean? It's not the same. But like if you could obviously clear the high grounds, give your team space, and then use your ult, that would be way more impactful than just going in and using
Paul
it. You know
Megan
what I
cave,
mean?
Paul Megan low.
And going in and using it is only going to work if you have an ult advantage and they can't just like counter with their own, you know. But anyway,
I need heals on Monkey. Heals on Monkey.
Healing it.
I think it's basically
Anna
just
one.
what we're looking is just like the same thing happening
Anna's low.
a couple of times in a row. You know what I mean?
Paul
Go
driving too.
on, Reminger. Full
And
mines.
half.
Paul driving.
I can
Anna
heal.
dead. I traded for Anna.
Nice.
We capped, we capped.
Snow.
Mercy.
I need to heal monkey mean back
I'm
now.
trying to heal. I'm trying to
I'm
heal.
trying to help you.
Fire half here. Mercy.
Mercy.
And
Bully
this
man,
is
bully
just
man.
mayhem.
We don't
So,
top.
But
I'll push your pillar. Push your pillar.
We can somewhere DPS to hard DPS here, like hard dive DPS here.
yeah, and I like the way
me.
that's a good call.
Get this
Like
up.
it makes sense for you because it like matches your playstyle, and like you can't you shouldn't be switching to Diva. So well, you can switch to Diva. I don't even know if I've seen you switch to Diva before, but like you wouldn't want to play it for you wouldn't want to play her for like a whole round or whatever. So
I've probably seen about 5 minutes total of my
yeah,
game over
yeah.
6 months.
It's just
'cause
like
it's just
last
you
fight,
know,
you want to eat
want
an
to
ult.
eat an ult. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, if you wanted to show off in trials or whatever, that could have been a good move to make.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be showing off.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, I like the call to switch though, because it's good that you at least recognize that there's a difference in the playstyles or whatever. So you kind of do know why. It's just like if you had been able to communicate like what you thought, because your team wasn't really communicating what they wanted to do. Like Winston would call a location just before he dove it, which doesn't really help. And he didn't call like his intentions at all. He even asked you like, "What are we doing?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you had been able to like explain to them in better words what you actually wanted them to do, it probably would have worked out a little bit better. And because then your DPS would like be paying attention to the timing of when they should be peaking and shit, you know. But at the moment, I feel like it's just like everyone's kind of doing their own thing, which is okay. But anyway,
Yeah, you can do that. We have no
Yeah.
back.
Like
button.
Genji
Genji
Tracer,
Moira.
Genji Somber.
I'm taking space here.
And when did our guy go Moira as well? I don't even think I saw that.
Probably overtime fight. Maybe wouldn't have got called on that. Probably after he died a few times, so their tanks just hard diving him.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. And if you're running Moira anyway, it just makes sense to run because she's a mobile hero too. So
Yeah.
it just makes sense to run more mobile heroes. Like you're running McCree Hanzo dive, which is kind of weird, but it kind of counters what they're running, I guess, in a way. Because like both of these heroes are technically like dive tank busters. You know, it's like, and they're running like very divey tanks, and then the McCree can counter the Pharah, and as long as you just zone out the Widow, we should win. But I don't know. It's just a messy comp. But anyway.
I'm gonna go Genji.
I might
I'm
just go
not
on the
really
back
guys
line
right
with Primal here.
Switching.
Actually, can you stay bubble on point? Because I
Yeah.
can hand you on point with bubble.
They have
Yeah.
barrage.
Widow top
They
right.
have barrage.
I can pile drive the Widow if you want to go.
Here's another thing as well. Like even just
Okay.
like
Yeah, yeah, you can do that.
as
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
sitting on
Like,
car, right? So
Genji
Moira.
Tracer, Genji Somber.
remember, okay, we talked about like the steps or whatever. So if you're retaking or if you're on the attacking team, you've got to get their tanks out so that they're not just like perma sitting on your DPS and your supports. Then when you've done that, you want to like suffocate their team. So like you push their tanks back so that you have the cover and they don't have like room to maneuver or whatever. Then you like give angles to your snipers, and then if you need, you go for the hard dives if your team hasn't got any picks and you have like ults and shit like that. So when you're holding, so like even though we're still on attack, we're holding now technically. They're retaking. Like you especially shouldn't be on the cart. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
you can push the cart because you're so mobile. You can get from the cart to the other side of the map in about 2 seconds. But like you basically want to be in the position that makes it difficult for their DPS to get out. You want to you want to force the enemy team to take the time to force you out if they're smart. If they're not smart, then you can just like suffocate them in the choke points or keep all the map control forever and they just won't know how to retake that from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like
and the spot here would be top of like Saloon, like where our Winston is.
yeah,
Like
basically like don't let them get this high ground for free. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you either camp this high ground like kind of where the Winston is, or potentially even like further up. You can even just like like pressure them enough that it's really difficult for them to get out of the chokes without getting picked. You know what I mean? In which case
Yeah.
they'd have to be like smart with how they get through the choke, which just buys more time for you to push the payload. You know? So that's just like another
I'm
thing.
taking
Like
space here.
you spend a lot of time
I'm
on the
gonna go
car,
Genji.
and
I
by
might
the
just
time
go on
you
the back line with
move,
Primal
which
here.
is like
Actually, can you stay bubble on point? Because I can
Yeah.
hand you on point with bubble.
this is taking
They have barrage.
forever. By the way, there's no way we're getting all this done in an hour.
Widow top right.
So like the widow's already out, and if the two of you, if you and your Winston are like control the space properly, this widow's dead as fuck for walking out of the choke this early. You know what I mean? Like she's just instant dove. Her supports aren't with her yet. Hold on, I got a notification. Arrow, thanks for the follow. That shit is so loud it actually scared the fuck out of me. Holy shit. Because I turned up my computer volume as well to make it louder. But anyway, what was I saying? Fucking stream is distracting. Oh yeah, so if this widow like walks out, then it's like easy slam for you. The Winston can like jump and bubble to just keep her in the choke or kill her if she's like staggered herself with other supports coming out as well. Like the only way you retake properly is like tanks have to come out at like different angles with like the DPS behind them. Tanks need to be supported by the supports, and then we need to like figure out ways or angles to take to force their tanks to move to get to like leave these areas like this platform, this high ground, even like low ground. Like the best Winstons or the best wrecking balls are able to like find places like camp yourself in a place where you can do a lot of damage. If they walk past you, you can potentially kill them, and it's really difficult for them to clear you out, either because you're playing LOS or cover or health packs or whatever, or you're just controlling the high ground, and if they try to retake, you just boop them off. You know what I mean? Shit like that. Just like make it difficult for them to clear you out, and then when they do, like make it cost something. You know what I mean? Like give your snipers as much time as possible to get as many picks as possible. You know.
Right.
But anyway, it's
They have
just
barrage.
I can pile drive the Widow if you want to go for it.
Barrage and
Can
Nano.
you
so they all just kind of walk out.
go for
Go,
it?
No,
go,
Go,
no
go.
pressure. Their Pharah takes this high ground for free. Like we haven't pressured them at all, and we actually give them like the best parts of the map, of this map, for free. I like this
Yeah.
call though. the pile driver for high noon. That's a pretty smart. It's pretty good. It's a good call.
know now.
You stay
As
bubble
long
on
as like
point.
your McCree gets bubbled or
Yeah,
some
yeah.
shit.
On point with bubble.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
barrage.
For it there.
And he said it. Yeah, he said it there.
Set up for it.
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
Widow top
They
right.
have barrage.
I can pile drive the Widow if you want to go for it.
Barrage and
Can you go for high noon? Go high noon now.
I'm bubbling.
Heal me, heal me.
Keep me alive. Keep me alive on point.
Does it not get anyone?
How did the Ana? Oh, it's like the Ana's on 1 HP.
Enemy Winston bubble. Blocked it.
Ah, okay, right. But their Ana just barely lives in this as well.
Yeah. So that's true. Even if like there's not like this was not that we didn't do that good, but like you could have been done better by not letting their Winston get that far out for free, not letting any of their like we
Fire got a barrage because she got out.
yeah, exactly yeah. We could have like kept them sucked into the choke and then gone for the same play, and if you had taken your positioning better, he would have got like way more skulls in his crosshair. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
like
there's no reason for this high noon not to be on the high ground. As
Yeah.
well. Like it just could suffocate it. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Ana
Ana
back
top
right.
exactly.
Free
Nice,
kill, free
got-
kill.
Ana no nade.
Genji deflex.
Hammer on me in the back, Omega.
How does this
I
Ana?
did.
Okay, there we
I'm on
go.
ball. I'm on monkey.
Pile drive bow.
It was still a good play anyway.
Monkey no jump. Monkey no jump. Monkey no jump.
Switching monkey ball.
I got heal this
Okay.
guy.
One.
Happy heals.
Don't chase for summer now. Chase for summer.
I have beat. They have an inno.
No, I know.
Side check, side check.
I
What?
waste my ult so badly here.
Oh no. Okay, let's see.
I like.
What are you?
It would have been so good if their Winston wasn't there, but
Oh, did he just like bobble it or something?
no, he just fucking zapped it for like 3 seconds and it's
Oh
all gone.
no.
Cause yeah,
I had someone
just-
drop, I think.
yeah.
See, this one they have
Someone's gonna have to
Lucio.
go from top. Thinking him from thinking he'd come somewhere else, but yeah, he comes top right and just sort of kills everything.
All right. The weird thing is now
Yeah,
though
I mean-
is both teams are it's like switched. It's like slowly gone from sniper dive to full dive because nobody knows how to run sniper dive. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
in full dive, I feel like people are just like press W, call target, press cooldown, kill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The things that you need to think about in like full dive versus full dive is like cooldown cycling or whatever. So you've got to work. Okay, you're on ball, so you definitely are like the more aggressive tank. Again, Diva is just better, like I think. But okay, so you need to work with probably your Tracer and maybe your Genji, but both of your DPS really. If you're committing cooldowns in, you probably want to like cooldown in, speed out. You know what I mean? Or speed in or drop in. Like if you can drop in, force cooldowns, then follow up with your cooldowns and then speed out. Like that's huge. You know what I mean? That's like so. What I mean by like drop in is if you're controlling the high ground better, and that's what like Genji is for as well, is he helps control the high ground, then they come out, let's say like beneath you or below you or whatever, you can just drop onto their backline for free, they run away with speed amp, then you commit a cooldown to like follow up on them, and then your own Lucio speeds you back out. Like the best part about dive is like, or you could just drop in, get a kill, or pressure them away, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, and then use a cooldown to get back out. You know what I mean? The best
Yeah.
part about dive is like there's so much mobility that you want to like figure out a way to get in, whether it's cooldown or map geometry or map control or whatever, and then do the opposite to get out. You know what I mean? And then your speed boost can be like one of those as well. The trouble is, it's like if you're, let's say, like even positioning and you cool down in and then try to speed out, they could just follow you with their own speed. You know what I mean? So if your dive or your engage is invaluable, or if you don't have a good place to retreat to with like your supports with good LOS or whatever, then you could have a problem. You know what I mean? So it's all about like map control, keeping the enemy tanks like pressed up against their supports and their DPS, create that cushion for your support so they can actually see you and move around the map, and your DPS as well. And then when you're on full dive like this is when you actually do go for kills a lot more, because your DPS needs you to be in with them if they're going to get any value. You know what I mean? So instead of
Yeah.
just like only focusing on map control, you can like go way more for kills now.
If we have Moira Ana or Moira versus Ana, should we just say like fuck it, trade backlines because our backline will live longer?
Yeah, definitely. And like we just want to like this is kind of like a 6-man engage basically. We don't really have a backline. So we just hard commit with whatever ult we have or whatever, and the Moira can even fade in if she needs to. Like the Moira is basically like we hard commit in, their tanks will like counter dive probably onto our Moira, and then she can just fade. And if she doesn't, if they don't counter dive, she just keeps going in, doing damage and healing or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
She's like another DPS at the same time. And because they don't have D.Va, neither team has D.Va. I actually think Moira is probably the better option. But anyway, yeah. So there's like so many different types of dive. There's like sniper dive, then there's like full. This is full dive. What you're running now is completely full dive, and then theirs is almost full dive, but they have Ana. So I would say like if they went like D.Va, Ana, and then maybe like Genji or something instead of Tracer, and then like they would play like 3-3 kind of dive. You know what I mean? Where like the D.Va would
Yeah,
like lead in the Winston and the Sombra, and then play Peel and try to like counter whatever it is that we're doing, like punish our full dive. You know what I mean? But they're not really doing that either. So both teams are basically playing full dive, but because we have Moira, our backline should live longer.
Target
Just kind of
heroes,
look
Anna.
around. Yeah.
Unless their Ana like completely pops off. But anyway,
Sombra no TP.
They're close to
How's-
primal.
how does
Bottom,
this
bottom,
go?
bottom.
I'm leaving mine. Stop right. Tanks gonna get out.
Oh well, the ball is just like
Right.
no, fuck your minds, and he just rolls through.
She's
Move
one.
it out.
There we go. She's on
AP heals.
Oh, I
He'll be on
see.
point. Give him
I'm
mine.
on Ana top right.
So the Winston
going
just
for
zapped
it.
them all basically.
Yeah.
What you could have done is like wait for the tanks to come through and then separate the tanks from the supports with your mines. And that way, like even if the Winston wants to zap them all, he has to do it on our side. You know what I mean? He's just a free kill. At the very least, he has to burn all of his cooldowns and maybe his ult if he has it. But anyway, that probably would have been a little bit smarter. Cause yeah, it's like so different. There's so much. It's been so long since dive has been played. There's like so many like fine details that have been lost. You know what I mean? Like splitting tanks. Like you can do like half dives to cut off like support LOS and stuff. So for example, imagine like the double sniper dive or whatever. Like their Winston commits, and instead of like just zapping him, because you do fucking no damage compared to your snipers or your DPS or whatever. So instead of like focusing the Winston, you would like put yourself body block the Winston from getting away. Put yourself between him and his supports and like pressure the supports to stop them from healing the Winston. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're not even doing any damage to the Winston, but you're killing him so much faster than you would have done if you had actually just chased him around. You know. But just like like small things like that, or like this, if you had like let out one or two of their tanks and then done the mines to stop the rest of their team from coming out, that would have been really valuable as well. You know. But
Thank you.
anyway,
I got hacked.
they shouldn't have all come out from the same place anyway. That was bad by them. But
I have to play safe.
I'm breaking Sombra
Both flankers on.
TP.
I'm on Sabra, I'm on Sabra, I'm on
I'm
Sabra.
on Sabra with him. Sabra.
Sombra one, Sombra one. Nice. It's worth it. Lucio, back left.
how do we win
Yeah.
this?
Team
I
B.
don't really know.
Bottom, bottom, bottom.
I'm leaving mine. Stop right. Tanks gonna get out.
She's
Move
one.
it out.
There we go. She's on
AP
recall.
heals.
He'll be on point. Give him
I'm
mine.
on Ana top right.
So they use mines, they use nano.
Right. Fuck off.
I'm
Wild
going-
drive as well.
Yeah, that
Wasn't
was
a
not
few
great.
seconds.
Yeah.
Bidding.
What were you trying to do? Slam whatever was on the high ground or what? Yeah.
Yeah, like get the knock up on that and
Yeah.
I was trying to drop down, but yeah, I rushed it and fucked it up.
So they mines in nanoed, which was countered by our B.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got hacked.
You
I
get
have to play safe.
hacked. Genji like kills their Ana. Yeah, so exactly what we talked about, right? It's like your Moira is so much more survivable than their Ana, and we're seeing it happen right now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and both their flankers are on the ball as well. That sort of helps us here.
Yeah, that's not the best target for them to dive either.
Yeah.
And like you even used all of your cooldowns, so you're essentially useless for the next like 6 seconds, and they're just
yeah.
hard focusing you anyway. Unless you can like completely track something and kill it, like you know.
Breaking
Both
Sombra
flankers on me.
TP.
I'm on Sabra, I'm on Sabra, I'm on
I'm on
Sabra.
Sabra with him. Sabra.
Sombra one, Sombra one. Nice.
Then their summer just dies instead of translocating away.
I'm getting hungry right now. Top left.
Maybe
Winston
heals.
half on point. Gonna play
Healing
their
on point,
point in
healing
two.
on point.
Monkey one.
You slam
Lucio half right side.
Monkey one.
He'll be on point.
Who's
He'll be on
primal?
point.
What am I aiming at? Jesus Christ. Lucio on
Nice,
point.
Lucio.
Still on Lucio. Pile driving bolt. Right, never mind.
Lucio cart.
You're getting just knocked around the
Lucio
place.
Pile driving on a high ground.
Ana high ground. He dropped.
Anna drop.
Still
Did
on
that
Ana,
follow
Ana,
her
Ana,
hit?
Ana. They have no heals.
It
hit something. I
Yeah.
don't know what it was, but it's something.
I'm gonna die. I'm purple.
Healing you, healing you.
We're just like cleaning up now anyway.
Hold on point.
On ball.
Ball one.
Okay. I have Koenig's fight. You want a hard engage with Blade?
We could swap onto a rush cut. Like we use all our ults here except like.
Yeah, we.
I think you
any
go
dive
Ranzario,
ults we
right?
use here.
They're
Yeah,
all-
and
They
then we
have-
can
they have-
play that so much. I
What?
was like, just use any dive ults here, swap to rush. But I say it's like use any ults that aren't part of blood. Use any ults that aren't fuck. Use
Less-
blade.
Less words. Yeah. Yeah. But like,
yeah,
why
no,
didn't you say it like that? Just because you screwed up
Yeah,
or whatever?
yeah, no, it's just because I was trying to get the idea out quickly.
Yeah.
I just fucked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not used to be. It's like you're not used to be in that situation, so it's like,
Yeah. When's the last time you said use all our die vaults? Like,
yeah. Been a while.
yeah, it's kind of weird. Anyway, all right.
Yeah, you want to go
can swap
Busan? As this is literally
Yeah.
just we spam ults, lose a fight, and swap Ryan's area and win.
Okay. Do we want to watch defense or not? Because I think you kind of get rolled on defense anyway, don't you? So
Do we?
from
I
what
don't
I'm not.
remember, to be honest.
Oh, it's different. It's different because they're running Ryan's Zarya, so it's not the same.
Oh yeah,
So I think we should
hard-
watch
yeah,
it.
yeah. Watch this, yeah.
I'm
'Cause,
in their
yeah,
DPS,
I'm
yeah.
confused how
Alright,
like
I'll do it, I guess.
we actually lost the fight here because I don't know, I felt like we actually dove hard enough that we should have won the fights.
Right. Okay. Okay. So what advantages do dive tanks have other than Ryan's Zarya, and what are the disadvantages also? Because Ryan's Zarya have strengths too. Like it's an easy answer. I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna bother. It's just like mobility or whatever, basically, right? So that's
Yeah.
it. Like you do less damage, but you have way better high ground control and you have like more mobility. And so you always want to like literally what we just talked about when you're on dive tanks is like drop in, jump out. So if you can control the high ground, especially with your DPS are also more mobile, so they can control high grounds better. So use your DPS to control high grounds. If the enemy Ryan Zarya are like they're just on the high ground, just clear out the high ground's forehead. They walk to the high ground, you jump off, they jump off, you jump back on. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
they can't follow you back up there. So that's the advantages that dive tanks have. You can get in and out, or you can go from one location to another so much faster than they can. So you want to set up in a place where you can basically skip like get past the Ryan Zarya because you don't want to focus them first. They do more damage technically, but we do more burst damage, so we want to like burst something down, split it off with heals, and kill it before our monkey bubble disappears, and then get out, disappear into the wilderness or whatever, run off into the sunset with our fucking kill, and then just reset and do it again. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
basically, like if you can drop in from the high ground as 4 or even 5, if your Lucio wants to go with you, kill something and then use all your cooldowns to get out, whether it's speed amp or jump or whatever, and then you all get back to the high ground, play your LOS, get healed up, and then just do it again. They can't do anything. You know what I mean? So like.
Yeah.
With that in mind, like what high ground do we actually control, or you don't even it doesn't technically even need to be a high ground. I just say that because high ground is cover, you know what I mean, and it's probably the most difficult type of cover for them to clear you out of. Does that make sense? It doesn't have to be high ground. If you're like around a corner or something, that can be just as difficult to clear you out as well. But it's the same concept. So where do you like it with that in mind, like
Oh, the
where
full
do we
on
think
that.
we
There's
should we should be like setting up? Do you think this is the best place to set up, or do you think
Like the corner, like I think we end up moving up to the corner and dropping on top of the like hard diving there, or like we drop from the high ground onto the supports. Like if you let it play, you'll see where we actually engage from, and I think that's correct.
yeah, okay, yeah.
For
I,
the
I
summer,
I'm pretty sure I know exactly
Yeah,
what
I think
happens
we
here.
got
So
We doing Anna.
Anna or
Alright, yeah.
Hanzo, whichever
Bring
you
it.
can. These first.
3, 2.
okay,
Wait,
wait.
So I don't drop. I jump.
You jump,
Yes,
but
I'm
Alright.
out of
Anna-
sequence.
Anna-
with everyone. Yes,
Right.
I agree.
okay.
Anna Hanzo, something Anna Hanzo.
Yeah, so the rest of your team have the right idea. Like the rest of your team actually like did it correctly, but I don't know when your Lucio speeds either, which is like really important. But yeah, you jumped in where you could have been in a position to drop in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
Anna
okay.
one?
Though.
Anna one.
Could have been worse. Also, where's your Ana? I think I or are you on Moira again? I don't even remember. So this is good. Somehow your ball gets melted. I don't even know how that happens.
Yeah.
But
Got Andy there.
he just disappears. But like, okay, you have two. You're down one. You're down one of your tanks, right? Your team is insanely mobile. Like, never forget that. So you just need to say, we have two picks or whatever. Either like you can't win a sustained fight on the ground, like cooldown for cooldown. You probably lose that. So you need to like go. There needs to be like a fluidity to it or whatever. So in and out. You know what I mean? So you go in, you get your kill. No more cooldowns. Like you have no more cooldowns. Tracer's getting low on blinks. Your Genji maybe doesn't have a dash. You're getting low on HP, no bubble, no jump. You know what I mean? So you've got a call now just to like stabilize somewhere, get back to high ground, get out, like whatever the call is. You just need to like make that call, you know. But like I think we just get melted here because we just stay in too long.
Lucio one, Winston.
I'm jumping out.
Someone
Yes.
hack.
I'm dead.
So you jump out, your Genji is too far in, so he dies. Your Tracer was too far in, like she died as well. Like you guys fully committed pretty well, but you all stayed too far in, except for maybe you. Like you seem to like have knew your limits more than your ball, your Tracer, and your Genji. So at least you got out, but the rest of you didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe if you had just communicated that better, and like even though you jumped in, you're still the only one that survived and actually got out, which is kind of crazy. It should really be the other way around, but uh, anyway, that was like it was good from you. It's just the communication could have been better, or like the understanding for your team. It's like it's so difficult to run if you're not coordinated with your team. Like you should have been talking to your Tracer and your Genji. So like as you go in, you kill the target, and then like as your bubble is disappearing, you say like we're leaving. Like get ready to leave. Like you want them to leave first because you're the tankiest one. You're the one who can like take the most punishment or whatever. So you want all the enemy
Yeah.
team's attention on you, and you leave last. You know what I mean? And you like
See,
run the
like even with the hard commit dive like this, do you still think it should only be the one pick and get out, or
well, not one. That was just like a hypothetical like thing or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
You want
But
to.
like,
It's more cooldown orientated than actual like obviously if you get like
yeah,
2 kills and you think you can just live, then stay in. But they should be able to manage their like if you're up two, you shouldn't have to retreat. Like all of you shouldn't have to retreat. But
yeah,
let's say you're being focused, you're up 2 kills, and you have no cooldowns except for like jump to get away. Then you use that jump to get away. You know what I mean? And you say
yeah,
I'm getting out, and then you just get that means like one, your Anna's probably going to be healing you and like I'm low, I'm getting out. That means your Anna's healing you instead of your DPS, and it also means your DPS just have to play a little bit slower or even just jump straight up in the air. You know what I mean? Just like if you're
yeah,
up two and you're still cleaning up, but you just got to call it like stabilize somewhere and call it your low, and your Anna should be calling that she's healing Winston so that she's not healing your DPS, and your DPS just shouldn't feed. You know, and you
yeah,
just wait for you to get back in the thick of the fight or whatever, and then we just keep calling targets. Like there was literally, I think that fight was just a case of they just didn't know their own limits and they died because of it. You know,
yeah,
and you did know your limits, like you got out, which is good, but there wasn't much you could have done to save your DPS there, except maybe you could have been more in the front when the engage happened. You were kind of behind
yeah,
everyone because you were so far away. But
Reset here,
does
reset,
that
reset,
like
reset.
does that kind of make so like I think we've got
yeah, yeah.
that's kind of it. Like that's kind of all the three different types of dive I think so far, like double sniper, full dive versus full dive, and then full dive versus death ball. And I actually like dive versus death ball. Like it can work really well if you have a really coordinated team. Um, it's just like if the team goes to sustain heroes, nah, good luck, you're fucked. You know, like
Yeah.
you just don't kill anything. It doesn't matter. So like you burn cooldowns, and it doesn't matter how many times you cycle in and out. You will never die. They will never die, and then you will eventually die because something will happen and you'll just get farmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember like playing dive against goats. Used to run like Doom or like Genji Sombra or something like that, and just farm. But it was just basically like tanks would cycle the objective long enough to farm Genji Blade or Nano Blade or EMP, and then you just go with that because you could never actually kill a goat zero without an ult, and it was always just about cycling ults onto them, you know. And then
Yeah.
eventually, like the goats teams got so good that it just didn't matter. They could just kill you faster than you could do anything about it. So that's why dive is trash, and I don't think it's gonna make it. There's still too much sustain in the game. Like with the armor buff, I think that's kind of ridiculous. Like, let's say the enemy team is running like Arissa, Ryan, Torb, May. Like how? What do you dive? Like Brig Moira, you know? That shit's
Yeah.
fucked up. Like you literally can't kill anything. Or even like
Yeah.
Brig Mercy or Brig Anna, like nothing will die. It's busted.
Yeah, it still stands to me like the point the joint made of just like, yeah, ever since goats, people have just sort of realized diving or playing snipers and the way to do things, you should just run at people.
Yeah, like
And
sustain and death ball has always been the best way to play because it's an objective based game. Like if you can play a style that not only like can kill them all but also gets objective at the same time, that's how you win the game. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And like dive can't play objective as well. So like even if you let's say you win a fight as dive versus death ball, but it takes you like half of an objective to do so, they could like remember how we used to play goats against triple DPS on King of the Hill maps, we would literally just like throw ourselves onto the point, know that we're gonna lose, but we would cap and get so much objective that we could lose 3 fights in a row, farm up 6 ults, and then win the map in 1 fight. You know what I mean? Because we
yeah,
would get to 99% anyway against triple DPS because sustain was so busted. It's basically the same concept. That's why dive is just not so good. But because both teams are forcing it, there's like an artificial meta that's being like forced in, which is fine. Like it's still good to know how to play it. You know what I mean? It's always good to be able to like take concepts from other metas, and you never know what Blizzard are going to do either. So it's always good to know this. And if like the only real reason we're doing it is because all the trial teams seem to want
Yeah,
C or
value
dive.
it
Yeah. So
highly for
so if they want to see it, we got to learn
Alright.
it. You know what I mean?
I wish they would just like, all right, we're gonna see his Winston play. We're gonna play floats here.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'd be sorted. I'd be fucking sorted.
Yeah. It's weird that trials like coaches or whoever's doing the trials will like force dive, but they won't force goats. Like, what's the point of forcing a meta
Well,
that's redundant? If
yeah.
you know what I mean. Like, I understand like goats
Yeah.
can never be viable again, so dive might be. So they want to.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense that way, but I don't know. If dive is going to be meta, I don't see it. Like, it might be meta, but I highly doubt it. There'll have to be some other changes made to the game. You know.
I'm ringing a tier 2 team tonight on NA PTR, so
Unreal.
I'll have an idea of what the
Yeah, I haven't
meta's
played
gonna be.
any PTR at all yet because I've been focusing on playoffs.
I'll let you know in this.
Yeah, cool. All right. Anyway,
We can the three of us can get out.
my
Oh,
guess
shit,
is
actually,
clockwork. By the way,
Yeah, you don't have your Discord on stream, do you?
no.
Okay.
I don't even check it. Oh, yeah, I see that. No, yeah, no, I never opened Discord on stream.
Okay.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so we speed out eventually, but we're already down 3. So like our Lucio probably could have sped us out a little bit better, and your DPS could have managed their in time a little bit better, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Owen said true, by the way, when I was talking about sustain, like how it's just
Yeah.
nothing dies if you pick sustain heroes.
We get another fight. It's 6. It's fine.
Oh, now he amps, so that must be
Try
his
not to
second
get
amp.
I think we set up for a cluster dive in the choke and get the Ana.
Care for a somber hack.
Okay, so we reset, but they've given us high ground, so it's basically the exact same concept, right? You want to walk up, find their squishies out of position or whatever, drop in, kill them, jump out, and repeat. You know.
Bubbling 5.
MP5.
Let's see how this goes.
Try control our high ground here. Don't let.
Okay, so their Zarya is actually doing the smart thing, but like we should win this. We should be able to quickly and easily make a 4v2 on this high ground. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
My com is literally just clear the Sari off and then look for the dive. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Come take it from us.
That is
Outside main, can we go
on
down?
top.
Pressure hand that. Pressure
Back right.
hand the low here. Hand the one. Hand the one.
Somber out. I'm going in.
So the Hanzo goes off. Like the Zarya hasn't gone off yet. So like this isn't your fault. This isn't your fault. Like your DPS need to help out with this, and whatever the hell your other tank is doing needs to help with this as well. Like this right now is the most important thing because if we don't clear these people off the high ground, your supports aren't safe. So if you just engage without taking space first against the death ball, against like a death ball, so a Rein Zarya comp, you might get a kill, but you have nowhere safe to return to, and your supports won't be able to back you up either, because so they'll have no space either. You know what I mean? So you have to like make your advantage is in mobility and map control, and if you don't take map control and use your mobility, then what's the point? You know? So
I can dive the Ana.
Ana's on the high ground. You ready? I'm going.
and I think that's what's happening,
Ana's
right?
one,
Another one.
So we just left their tanks on the high ground with our Ana and just dove.
I'm with you on hand. I'm with you on hand.
I'm trying. I
Someone
got
behind you.
solar shadow. I got solar shadow.
So yeah,
We need to touch soon. I'm too low to touch.
unlucky. So yeah, you kill your target, but you can't get out because there's nowhere safe to go.
No, we keep. We're all coming up to ult here. So.
And then we just use an ult cycle and switch, I think, right?
I think.
Yeah, you can swap.
Like,
Are we still playing dive? I'll go diva if that's the case.
Yeah.
Are we switching?
We'll keep keep for rotation of ults.
He had
and then we can
mines
swap.
and he
Yeah.
switched.
Okay.
And now he's gonna go.
It's not worth. Yeah, I'd support the choice of swapping
Yeah,
right now.
I just think Diva is so much better as well. But if you're only gonna use a shitload of ults and then switch to Rein Zarya anyway, is there any really a point? Because he's never
Well,
gonna get
it's
an ult.
like I suppose the goal is to like win this fight and then continue winning, which I think we do. Like we start rotating ults.
Right.
Like I think that call is like let's say for rotation as well. It's alright, we'll use ults more freely now, but and then when we lose a fight, then we swap.
Right.
Whereas we just don't lose an ult from now on, or lose a fight from now on. I think.
Wait. Yeah.
Back on the
Okay.
heavy
I'm chilling
MP.
in the spot.
I think we
No.
like hold them second.
Wait. Really? Do you switch to Rein Zarya?
Mid don't have beat yet.
I'm not
Do they
sure.
have grab?
I remember.
Yeah, they do.
They should.
I don't know.
If we just play split
Nah,
off
you
the
hold
time,
for
only one or two
ages.
people.
Holy
I
shit.
can. No, if
I
we
think
actually
we hold
hot
them
dive,
here.
I can try and deflect the grab if you have faith.
Okay, I want to. This call, this call.
Sure.
I was watching
I mean,
this
hard
earlier.
dive-
This
yeah,
call made me
it
laugh.
was, it was like, fuck it. He's in his open tryout. Might as well give him his chance to shine. Like, fuck it,
What
why
was?
not?
What exactly did he say?
Desire-
They do.
if
They have
we,
grab dragon and heavy.
Here, we'll listen to
Just
it.
let
See
them.
in the spawn.
I know. They Mid don't have beat yet.
Do they have grab?
Yeah, they do.
They should.
I don't know.
If we just play split enough that they can only grab one or two people.
I can. No, if we actually hot dive, I can try and deflect the grab if you have faith.
What?
Okay.
I'm
Sure.
Can
we hard?
What the fuck? I mean,
I made the correct call.
We
and then
can
he
eat
just
it.
Goes, nah, fuck it. I'll reflect it.
yeah. And then the diva's like, "What do you mean reflect it? I'll just eat that shit." What? Okay, but like, okay, fine. Hard dive the Zarya, that's fine. With an ult, and then try to eat the grab. Like, if we're going with an ult to back up our dive, that's fine. Because we're going to use a bunch of cooldowns to try to kill the Zarya. Then we'll need like speed amp to get out, and we'll need an ult to back that up as well. So if we have an ult advantage or whatever, like that makes sense.
Hard dive the Zarya then.
It's not that bad of a call, but it just seems a bit.
it's a bad way to make the call.
Yeah.
I still think my call of just play split so it's a solo grab if anything, and we can nano whoever it is.
Yeah, we're running dive, so it should be like that anyway. She shouldn't be able to
Yeah.
grab more than like 3 people.
Unless she eats it and then the diva should eat it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
Yeah, hot dive
You-
Zarya, and we like deflect and eat everything.
Ready?
Yep.
She's playing point. Going
Sure,
3,
just like-
2, 1. I'm on her.
Penny.
Okay.
The first
Like,
4 squishies and we jump on the time.
yeah, she's not even low HP. Like, what the fuck? But here's the thing as well.
Sure,
Like with
we,
this dive, like,
deflect and eat
could
everything.
you maybe
have
not
walked,
because they're running
yeah.
Hanzo? Could you have
Yeah.
walked? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you can figure out positions or like a way to play, if
To be fair, here it's like I'm going in and I
Ulting,
know
we're
we're all
ulting,
committing
yeah.
and I have primal. Like
Yeah.
I shouldn't need to get out per
Yeah.
se,
that's fine.
but then I go and get hacked anyway. So
Just like in general, yeah.
yeah, I get you. Yeah.
All right.
Ready?
Yep.
She's playing point. Going 3, 2, 1. I'm on her.
Penny.
Oh, wait, you get hacked.
The prisoner. You're on. She's
What the fuck?
personal.
We have free
I'm
play.
up on him, right?
Okay, so they beat it instead of grabbing. So if we don't have ults, like now we do need to get out. You know what I mean?
I need heal stop left.
So
Somebody's half.
you kind of do. Yeah, you kind of
Yeah.
do quite well actually.
Waiting out the beat and then I'm gonna dive down
Well,
it
well,
and then
well,
choke.
well,
Going 3, 2, 1.
Hands left, we'll go
I'm on
Hanzo.
hand low.
Something.
That was solid. Like that was a
Yeah.
that was a really good dive.
Hanzo
Right
dead.
in?
Nice.
Oh shit.
As long as your diva doesn't get farmed and we maintain our high grounds, well, they can't do shit. Like that's the point. That's the objective of dive.
Come back to me, come back to me.
Yeah, I'm peeking for heals. Top off.
This is really good so far. Like peaking LOS for Ana as well. Like this is good. Because you're still in your position, right? So you can still drop in a couple of seconds when you get
Yeah.
bubble back and you're healing up. So
I'm looking at the Zarya.
Ana,
Zarya
Ana.
half.
Okay, dropping on them.
Ana in the back.
Pressure
back
Ana.
right.
oh no. Okay. Yeah.
I tried to jump out of the hack rather than do anything.
Oh no, that's that because
Yeah.
you would have primaled and you would have lived. Maybe if you would have waited 1 second for bubbles,
See,
that's how you
yeah,
outplay
but
that.
I just didn't play around the summer because it was like, okay, yeah, if I'm going in without my bubble, they don't have their Hanzo, so I'm not going to take 400 damage in 3 seconds.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, then I got hacked. Got hacked, fuck.
Grenade over there?
I got hacked.
my
Fuck.
bad.
Beautiful call out.
Some stuff. I'm not
Right
getting-
half.
And now like another thing about dive is like when you lose 1 or you lose 2, it's just like now what? You know.
We played
Ryan,
A
kill him
set.
all?
We played
Yeah,
A
yeah,
set.
yeah. I'm
That was a good
can
trade.
play
Like
that, I can play
your diva's playing pretty well. Like she knows how to play dive.
They
Yeah,
use their
yeah,
beat. They
yeah,
have no
Play,
beat.
play,
They're
play, clean up,
Ready?
play.
3.
That was a
they're
good
gonna grab
kill.
the blade. Eat the grove. Eat the grove.
Eat the grab.
it.
Fuck. Oh yeah. Yeah. This guy's like, I'm blading. Instantly dies. We don't get to
Yeah.
see what happens, but I assume he just got beamed.
Yeah, my call was like, if we're blading, they're gonna grab them because they don't have beat.
Yeah.
Which is like, I happy with that of just thinking, alright, please beat. They have only a counter roll of grav or
Yeah.
shatter, but they don't have shatter right now.
Yeah.
So
It's a good call to your diva to remind her. Like, but he just died anyway, so it's unlucky. He just got massacred.
I'm with you. Maybe I can get
I'm
a
down payload.
Back up.
Ana
Alright,
one.
let me just-
That's nice.
This is unwinnable.
I'm stunning payload.
nice,
Yep,
winnable.
true.
I'm dropping on
Nice,
their
okay,
hand though.
okay.
With
Yeah, so drop to the high ground, stall a little bit to get your cooldown back, and then drop onto the Hanzo, so you'll have your cooldown back basically anyway. That's really
Free
good.
shockwave.
And you,
Yeah.
yeah, calling to your DPS by name is really good as well.
I'm with you.
Rest of the pylon.
People like in
Yeah,
teams
Shatter, maybe.
don't seem to understand that.
They still have EMP.
Like I literally only called his name because I saw his name like go
with you.
across my screen.
On your screen, yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan coming in.
Oh
Oh,
my
no.
god. This,
Oh no, that's
I remember this as well. This shit's
But like,
fucking
I
funny.
was the only one afraid of him.
Yeah.
Like I was the only one playing like, yeah, no, that's a Ryan on a Mega. I'm not going near that.
Hacked
and then
Mega.
everyone else-
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone else
Hey,
just
baby.
kept pushing him.
Careful
I'm
with
just
the
like,
Kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. But actually, we just
and
beat him.
I'm on
Why is
any.
that
I
happening?
would have
I'm
fucking.
scared of shadow. Yep, there it is.
Oh.
See my bubble went.
Yeah, I saw the animation.
That on my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, don't kill, don't kill.
They
Okay,
nanoed
okay,
him.
okay. I'm freezing him again.
Don't kill.
I need
What
help.
is
Oh,
that
no,
called?
I need help, I need help.
Your teammate went to May with a dive. Oh, because we were switching rounds. Alright,
Ryan.
yeah. Okay.
Alright, guys, I need help.
The Ryan killed your May. What the fuck? Like, okay. Because you're still on dive tanks and he's on May, it's like he has no mobility to get away, so he just gets massacred by their brawl if he's by himself.
Yeah.
This
Right,
is
no, 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 no,
such
no,
an
no.
odd
Kill him,
interaction.
kill him, kill him.
This fight is so
Yeah, right,
weird.
Robbie.
That's
One of
okay.
that.
Yo, one up, one up.
You show one back right, bottom.
Just one,
Omega.
just
They're all- they're all dead.
Nice.
Your Diva is pretty good though.
Coming.
I think actually it was
At
something.
Diva.
I don't know why I went
The
there.
Ryan's on the Mega again.
His wall wasn't great.
You're all a lot more afraid now.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, no shadow.
Watch
That's
out! Oh!
They have Krino.
Dude, he's held his
Yeah.
ground for 20 minutes.
That was good.
Dude,
That was pretty funny.
He's holding his EMP for 20 minutes as well.
How much time do we have? Oh, we only have
I'm
like
either waiting
15
for, like,
minutes.
What do they have
going
besides
top
an
left,
hour
yeah.
already? Oh, they stopped more. No, end of it. They have grab
I'm just
EMP.
gonna farm.
Keep spy checking if you can.
Can you,
Kree top left right now. Or like
Tower bottom left.
top slope. I can dive the Kree
I'm
whenever.
shooting Kree. Kree's
I'm going on
in the
Kree. I'm
background
dropping a
right
Kree. I'm
now.
dropping a
Oh,
Kree.
shit,
I'm a
I
Kree.
need
That's
Alright,
a
good.
solid dive as well. It's unlucky that you had to commit a jump to
Yeah.
it, but I don't think you die because you haven't committed bubble yet, so you shouldn't die.
I'm.
I got
Ryan
that.
missed the charge.
What the fuck? What is that Ryan doing?
Spy right.
Summer on
I'm
point.
dead, I'm dead, I'm dead. Okay, I got out.
I'm on
Run,
summer.
And like
There's
I
the
got
goal.
your supports died because they got grabbed, and your diva probably should have been playing a little bit more peel. Like the Lucio kills the Ana, which is not great.
Summon no B. Okay, there's B, EMP, grab.
We can get another
I think
fight
you switched
if
to
we-
Ryan
if
after
you-
this, right?
Maybe. I'm not
I'm
sure.
coming now.
All I know is their Tracer gets a double stick.
have
Follow
soldier.
out.
Wait, can you jump soldier? Okay, we can
No,
kill
no, I'm
you.
dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
Do we want to stop now?
I'm chilling.
Grab EMP B.
Just swap the Tracer.
Yeah, okay.
We can give this Humber if
Yeah.
we need to.
We can watch Busan. It's only 2 rounds of Busan, right? Oh, I remember
Yeah.
this.
Uh,
I saw this live.
yeah. See, yeah. This one I'm confused of like what actually went wrong, because to me it was like I pushed up,
Left.
created the
What?
as much like I in my head
no, no.
for of this round.
Yeah,
I
Tracer
pushed
needs-
up, create space, and then dove there Anna. I got slept a couple of times, but that's mechanical error. But sometimes I just completely zoned her out and her or the widow. So
Okay, so let's see.
I could be
we're on.
remembering this
Both teams are on
incorrectly.
double sniper dive, right? I think I remember what
Yeah.
happens here. Yeah, both teams are. Okay, let's just
but
go
we're
through
on
it.
ball again.
Go right side.
We're on
I'm
ball
pretty
again.
sure
What the
this
fuck?
one I was like, yeah, I don't know about ball if we're playing
Yeah.
double sniper, but
Divas would have just been better,
This
I
is
think.
start.
But like ball can
Especially-
work. I think ball is actually better in double sniper v double sniper than it is in full dive versus full dive.
yeah.
Even though ball is a full dive hero, just because. Yeah. Yeah. What?
Like I think we ended up on it because we, like I said, could we not go double sniper because Winston's shit here, like on this map.
yeah.
And he sort of took it as, oh yeah, we'll go Winston ball rather than go ball diva or anything like that. Or yeah, I don't like in my head I was just sort of like, I don't want to be on Winston on this map because it's a really shit map for Winston. Any of the cover is really low frame doors, and any open area is really open.
Yeah.
So it's really shit for Winston.
True. That's a good point. It's kind of like Junkertown almost.
Yeah, exactly like Junkertown.
I was thinking in like when is it better to run ball instead of diva, and I was like, okay, in full dive v full dive, I think diva is just better because you want to be able to just like stop their damage or peel or whatever. Although if you're with a Moira, then maybe if it's when it's like, let's say you're running dive versus death ball, I think wrecking ball is really good against that, you know. because they can't control the high ground anyway, so the diva doesn't need to peel for supports. You know?
Yeah.
Or if you're running like full dive versus like a hybrid dive or whatever, so like full dive versus double sniper dive, you don't need diva there either. Well, although diva's still good to eat the sniper damage, but like you're full diving, so you don't have a backline there either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just like in situations where it's like double sniper versus double sniper, like that's so slow, and the tanks like can't go that aggressive that it's just diva is just better. She just does the job better. You know?
See, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I do think on this map though we should have went hard dive with ball tracer
Yeah.
and then have like maybe the like a Hanzo or a Widow, a Diva and a Lucio, and then they just play as a 4 that protects themselves. And
I
then
think
me and
that's a good
Tracer
idea. Yeah.
as Hammond,
So it's
or
like a
Sombra
4-2
even.
dive where
Yeah,
you're
4-2 dive.
yeah. I like that as well.
But
Anyway,
just mainly because Winston's bad here.
yeah.
I'm gonna peek
We'll
on
see how you do.
They just
First time.
But even with that, I do think I do like play it pretty well. Of just
Yeah, this is a really flanky map. So first thing you got to do, shut down the flanks, give the flanks to your DPS, force their DPS or force their tanks off of your DPS. So their tanks, their supports, and their DPS are all on top of each other, preferably in one place. Um, yeah, and you say you do
They're on
that, and
ball.
I think I remember you doing that as well. We
Winston,
just want to
Winston.
watch like.
Playing with our Widow.
They Widow on the right side.
So they're like heavily committing to taking right side. So you kind of have to give that up, which is fine. But as long as you like call that out, then we can like heavily commit to the left side. You know what I mean? Take over this the side that they're not like present on. So our ball could maybe like have helped out with that. But I think your DPS just go there anyway, which is good. Like it's good that they do that.
Trace on me, trace on me.
They're mirrored, but you pocket.
I'm gonna walk onto their Ana in a few
Yeah,
seconds.
sorry,
Or
Carl.
onto the Widow, I mean.
Standing flanks.
So yeah, again with like their tanks or whatever, right? So you've again like skipped the step of like jumping onto their you're going straight to shutting down their DPS and their supports, and then their tanks are actually on our whole team at the moment. And what's happening, I think their Lucio is too for whatever reason, but your ball is actually the one going back and peeling, which is fine. Like he is the off tank, so that's what he should be doing. But you just can't go that deep if your supports are like tied up. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Pressure their Widow
But
a little bit.
you're like forcing their
ETF
Widow
right side if you
away.
can, Ana.
Our DPS forces.
Walk up to point.
Anna's close left.
Like this is good. Like I like the way you're kind of hanging around. You're being a nuisance. Like you're not getting forced out, which is
Yeah.
good.
like
Maybe we can dive it.
I'm being a lot more patient than
Yeah.
like
Then last round.
it's something something I've struggled with my dive. Where I'm
Right.
just sort of press shift and go hard or balls to the wall like
Kill everything. Yeah.
yeah.
Anti-nade one again.
It's a lot more
ETF point.
patient and
Yeah.
playing
Yes.
around supports more.
So you do get headshot. You have to like peek the bubble, get healed up. This is fine. Like now we're kind of like neutral or even positioning. You did force their Widow back, which is good, and we got to pick on the Lucio, but Lucio doesn't mean much in double sniper v double sniper, you know.
Widow main.
Oh, they're not even on double sniper. They're on full dive, which is
Yeah.
just a
Yeah,
counter.
they have
It's-
a Widow.
yeah, they have a Widow. Okay.
Widow Ana, I think.
And we're on double sniper. Yeah, okay. So the ball, like someone needs to peel. You know what I mean? And you do
Yeah.
like as long as if you can just zone 2-for-1, zone their Widow Ana,
Yeah,
like
I probably should have just been like, here, I'm zoning these two. Ball, you go. You play as Diva, as Ball for some
Yeah,
reason. But
yeah.
you're peeling.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are just countered, to be honest. Like it's
Yeah.
if you're not on Diva especially, like Tracer is just gonna run havoc and especially because there's no high grounds on this map, you know what I mean? So it's too easy for Tracer to like get around, I guess.
It's like gardens. It's just like it's perfect for Tracer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just it's gonna be tough to run double sniper on this map for all the reasons that we've just said, you know.
I can dive Ana back
Tracer's
left.
left.
Walk
Three,
here.
two, one.
See, I thought this 3-2-1 was to dive to Ana, but apparently it was for something else.
Something got
I
slept
think
in
it-
your backline, I
yeah.
think.
But they counted down for a Widow headshotting a Tracer that's asleep. I thought this was our like our ball or I don't know who like because it's tryouts I don't know the voices. I was just someone was saying and I was like I can dive Ana and then someone said yeah and then someone went 3, 2, 1.
Fuck's sake. Alright. That's pretty funny, yeah. But even without that happening, like the mistake is I assume you die here, right?
Right,
Yeah,
slept.
'cause I got
Ball's
it's
coming
slept.
back.
Yeah. The mistake is as well, like you can't like the better the Ana is, like the more you have, the better you have to play. Like
Believe me, I'd like fuck the first time like trialing with a tier 2 team was just like sleep, sleep,
Yeah.
sleep, and I was like, does he ever fucking? But then I was like, oh, this is standard. I just need to get used to this
yeah.
and get better at it.
So you've
'Cause
gotta
before
like
I'd just been used to, oh, you just put a bubble and dance around it, but no, they just hit you midair no
Yeah.
matter what.
it doesn't. Yeah. So you've got a zone. You can't just go for the throat immediately. You know what I mean? You've got to
Yeah.
like shut the Ana out, then kill. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
as your team is like cleaning up or whatever, if you can like get Widow and Ana like in a box and just never let them out, that's perfect value, and you never need to kill them. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you
yeah,
the best Winstons will be able to do that and then kill them. Like that's what separates an owl Winston from like someone who knows exactly what they're doing but just isn't, you know what I mean? So like now it's like you have the mechanics. Like I'm pretty sure you have like an insane primal in a couple of minutes or whatever. But like if you can do the job, like get their tanks off of your DPS, then shut down their DPS and shut down their supports by zoning well and controlling the map properly, and then kill them. Like if you can like bait cooldowns by like zoning and making it look like you're gonna go aggressive, and then back to zoning, you bait out all the cooldowns. You pressure them out with like good positioning and like playing cover and playing LOS, and then go for the kill. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But instead you just like you kind of did it. You zoned the Widow, which was good, and then just went straight in for the kill instead of just like
God, I thought there were 3 people or 2 people joining
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all right. And they're all just on the other side of the map. That's
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Anyways,
Killing someone who slept. It was like,
Your ball made a valiant effort to
Touch,
get
touch,
to
touch,
get
touch.
over to you.
yeah.
Widow's low in the back.
We lost point. Alright.
We have
lost
numbers.
point.
We have strong numbers.
It's weird hearing the different voices because you keep switching teams.
We are, have no cross angle right now. We're playing the same angle.
Yeah.
Widow's low. Widow's low. I'm going.
Alright, 2
Hold on,
seconds I can dive Widow.
Standing bro.
Okay, so you're not going straight onto Ana, and I assume you drop bubbles, so you're not gonna get slept here. So this dive is better.
Pushing Widow right now.
Don't say that too early. I don't know what happens. I think I'm okay, but
They're just like pushing your
playing the
team
same
as
angle.
well, which is weird.
Yeah.
Widow's low.
So again, the one thing you have never done so far is pressure tanks out, you know?
yeah.
And it's tough for you to
Yeah.
do that, but like the one of the best ways you can do that is cut off their healing. Like, you know what I mean?
See, it's like something I need to start doing. It's like this dive on the Widow. If you just play a little, you see how it's like on top of
there's
her
no ongoing.
rather than it should be to her left.
Right.
Like
So
I,
you
I
cut
should've
off
jumped to her left. Yeah.
yeah.
So I could have just been. They have like a triangle of like Ana, Widow, tanks. I could have been putting a bubble in the middle of that and block both the Widow and the tank
Yeah.
heals.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, 2 seconds I can dive Widow.
And instead you're just going like,
Standing bro.
give me this kill.
So
Pushing
I
Widow right
slightly do it, but yeah, I pop down bubble immediately.
Okay.
There's no need to.
And he just grapples into your team, and it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because their tanks are basically there, so he's
Yeah,
still
but
safe
yeah,
over there.
If I was more to her left, then
Yeah.
I would have blocked off her. It's like when you're playing in some Mercy of like she's gonna fly to her team, stand in between it, and you can body block it and
Yeah.
damage more.
Yeah, definitely.
Need to get used to that.
Just a dead.
I have mana for you, monkey.
Oh,
We're playing front
Lucio,
line.
one Lucio.
Right there.
that's an interesting nano, but okay.
I'm lining up the jump to go in the window
back.
perfectly, and then I just fucking
Yeah.
that 180.
Yeah. And then you go for the squishies, which you get booked back, which is unfortunate by the ball.
Controlling point
We're
right now.
dead.
Widow dead. Nice, nice.
Anna slammed.
Anna spawn.
This is so messy. Like, what is going on over there?
He's half.
5 HP.
Monkey don't jump, monkey don't jump.
Wait till
It almost
Wait.
felt like I was playing well, but I just didn't know what was going wrong.
Yeah.
Just like
So it's not just you. Like nobody knows what they're
Yeah.
doing. You know what I mean? It's insane. But
Oh, anti on point.
yeah.
Lucio, Lucio. Lucio 1.
Monkey's on your hands up.
I capped.
Like you're
Yeah,
controlling the
yeah.
point pretty well. Like none of the squishies can come to the point, but like nobody's focusing their tanks at all. But it's just
Call
It's
him
just
and he's asleep. I'm gonna jump
mayhem. Oh my god.
yeah.
Okay, standing down now. But never mind.
What the?
One out of point.
Anna have HP. Anna
I'm
one
stuck.
HP.
Nice. Like when you primal, all the shit just goes up positioning and shit. Like you can still use primal to achieve like positioning stuff, but you can probably do that and just get kills. You know what I mean? You might as well
Yeah.
just get kills with primal if you're good enough with it. So that was like a good kill or whatever. But like as long as you don't get slept, obviously you want to like hunt for kills and
That's it.
shit.
Pressure Widow.
I'm going back on Lucio.
Widow low, left side of point.
He shouldn't have dropped off the high ground.
Yeah, yeah. He's Yeah, because you use the bubble. Like that's the thing about widows. Like if you can't force grapple first with good positioning, then shit like that is gonna happen. You know.
But to be fair, I didn't
stalling?
use that.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
touch.
I should have just like,
No, I can't,
alright,
I can't.
force this
I'm
cooldown,
backing up.
wait a few seconds,
Yeah.
then I can look to go
Let's
again.
swap the hard
away
dive
from my
here.
team.
Yeah.
Let's do whatever.
Yeah, I do. I want to split the hard dive and kill their Ana.
Do that over there.
So this is me
Yeah,
again,
sounds
just
good.
calling. Yeah,
The
our
tanks are the
comp
ones
makes
who are doing
sense.
the work
Yeah, it's like we're not doing this correctly. We just gotta switch. Yeah.
right now, so we can win the DPS roles. We just need to get aggressive and kill their back
But
line.
this is the one map I lost.
Ball on
so,
right
Bit
side.
on the left side.
Like,
Shockwave
us
just
This is the
dive
only map you lost.
Dive on either
Yeah,
Widow
they
or
kept swapping
no meat on it.
people around to try even it up, and just every
Trying to scout
time
real quick. I think
the
Ana's
team that
playing
had
left side.
me,
Yeah, you
Yeah,
see them
but
with Sonic.
backbone on it won,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
unreal.
eventually they split us, and then
I'm playing
we
left
lost
side.
this one.
Pepe.
We're
has
taking
to be
left
like-
and I
Monkeys go,
guess
monkeys go. Monkeys one, monkey one.
Tracer coming behind top bongo.
Okay, so we're on full dive, but what is going on here?
Trying to scout real quick. I think Ana's playing left side. Yeah, you see them with
both
Sonic.
of them playing left
They're
side.
so
We're
far
taking
away
left.
now that like it's gonna be impossible to actually dive them.
Go,
So
monkeys go. Monkeys one, monkey one.
Tracer
we're like
coming
moving into position, but they're just on your backline instead, and it's I don't know.
behind top bongo. I can dive.
Like we can maybe get on top of their Ana. Maybe
Yeah.
you can get her from here, but you're
See,
probably
yeah,
gonna
like,
lose your backline.
I end up doing it. It's just like I don't know. We didn't like the Tracer was never coordinating with me. Of like I'm just like she double blinks in here now, rather than if she waited 2 seconds, I would have been there with her.
Yeah. The other thing as well is like you can like counter dive, and the best way to do that is like they would like the way they're diving your backline now. If you just do like a half dive and then turn around, half dive, bubble to split off their heels, turn around and just like focus down whatever it
Yeah.
is that dove in. You know what I mean? That would be fine as well because like they're so far away, and you have to figure out a way of like taking the space or whatever. And we're splitting up. I think it's like 2 and 4, but I feel
Dive
like
left side. I'm coming
we're
with
gonna
T-shot.
lose their back. We're gonna lose our backline. Yeah. So our Hanzo dies to their Widow.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't even think we know where they
I'm
are.
on Ana. I'm on Ana. I need to sleep.
And then you just get slapped.
But yeah, like me and Tracer were so out of sync there. Of just like I'm obviously gonna get slapped.
Yeah, and then
So, yeah.
they're actually like peeling now, which is weird. Is this your
By the
ball?
way, it's 11.
It's
for me.
11. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. Yeah, I feel like we talked more about double sniper dive than actually like full dive versus full dive. But we can like finish this another time if you want. What time is your
Yeah.
trial tonight? Actually.
I don't have a trial. It's just ringing.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. So
It's only
if
1
there's
hour?
dive in that. Yeah, because I'm ringing. I'm
Okay,
not
yeah. So
trialing.
he's coming back. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm on until 3, so I won't be
Yeah.
around tonight. I'd say, but maybe we can do it again like tomorrow
like,
or something.
Should have more trials where I play dive, and then we can look at them. Like where I play actual like hard like dive versus dive.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but I guess if you it doesn't make sense that like the people who are around longer get a better advantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels sort of shitty if I'm being punished for. Like I suppose it is. Yeah, they're obviously like, if it comes to it, they will be better at it. But it's like they've also been. They've been playing at this level for an extra year and a half longer than me, and they're still at the same level. Yeah, you want to do something that benefits them? Cool.
Yeah,
Not,
true.
not
But
to
I
be
mean,
like
you
that,
might
but
have
like,
to.
yeah.
You still like have to. You're still
Yeah,
gonna have to
I-
learn
I-
it at some stage.
Yeah,
I
I don't like
guess.
the rules. I just need to be better than them.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, yeah, it's hard to make that argument. Yeah, I'm better because yeah, I've been playing at this level for less time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
I guess now, like next time we do it, yeah, you can even see here. I said double sniper dive Monka S or Monka
Yeah.
W because I knew like you would have no idea what's going on. You know what I mean? Or nobody
Yeah.
would, not just you. It's just yeah. All right, I'll head off. So I gotta like end the stream as well. So and then I'm late. So I will talk to you later.
see,
Yep. See ya.
Thanks.
Oh, I think he was saying thanks, but I left. Okay, I gotta end the stream. I'm late for a scrim. If anyone is listening, chat has been kind of quiet because I haven't been paying attention. But thanks for listening. I'll save the VOD as well because I think that was like a pretty good VOD for anybody who wants to like learn Winston or just like dive concepts in general for, if you're ever playing dive in any of your ranked games and you actually want to communicate with your teammates. I know there is one person who was in my chat like yesterday who wanted to know how to play Winston, so I'll go back and figure out who that was. Highlight the VOD there and upload it to YouTube. Yeah. I'll do that as well. I think that was a pretty good VOD. I didn't get through as much as I wanted to. I wanted to get through like a full dive, full dive, but we didn't. So maybe we can do it another time. But anyway, I'm really late for scrim now, so I gotta go. So thank you all for listening, and goodbye. Wait, who do I host? That's the real question. Who do I host? Is Pure streaming? Pure streaming. I'll host Pure. Alright. Goodbye all.